so the news is happening all around us, and that's what we're getting into today. All the dirt, all of this and more happens on Offsite Dirt. We cover trends, we cover events, we cover education, we cover construction. And guess what? Today we're covering a mix of all of that. We have a really good friend joining us from Cherry Creek Innovation Campus. My name is Mark Wille, and I'm joined with Audree Grubesic.
Thanks, Mark. It is a wonderful day to be here and to find that there are great things happening in great cities. We have Mike Degitis with, as you said, Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, and he kind of helps out in the infrastructure and engineering unit. Mike, thank you for being here. And what's the big news that's happening in Denver, Colorado right now?
Audrey, we are in a crazy market in Denver. There is the affordability of homes is becoming, far less attainable to the first time home buyer, and what that means is we're in essence a state of emergency in our city. And just this past Monday, a week ago, we had our new mayor, Mike Johnston, elected. Mike Johnston had spent some time at our campus, the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, with our construction program, where high schoolers are learning, their introduction to the trades and introduction to the workforce, just to see what we were doing in our shop, because he had big plans. And what his plans are is to basically get 1,000 people of our unhoused neighbors off the streets and into sheltered housing by the holidays, by the end of 2023. So we've got a plethora of parties, a lot of individuals, and a lot of the workforce basically putting their heads together in a think tank, saying, how can we solve this crisis? How can we get our unhoused neighbors into more permanent housing? How can we enter them into the housing pipeline so that they can transition into something that's safe, something that's sheltered, get them off the streets, get rid of our encampments, and offer dignified living to those that need it.
Mike, first of all, the fact that while people are campaigning, right, to take on a public position, right, like that, when they are in tune and aware of what's going on in the community and investing the time ahead of time based on their intentions and goals to learn from as in your case, the teachers at an incredible program, to experience what the students are diving into is really incredible. And then, you have the work of the election process that goes on, and then to roll out right away after the campaign ends and the voting ends, and he turned around and say, okay, now that our boots are in this office, this is what we're going to do. This is what I've learned. This is what I've seen. And I think this is an incredible example of awareness. And it just goes to show you that what schools provide, it's not just education for the next generation, it's education for those around us. And, to walk in there and for this incredible human to take that on and put it into action right away, that means that everyone is at that same pulse, right? That same momentum. So when you heard that the election happened, right, and you got some of this news, take us through that phase, like, of how that lands and what you're thinking.
Yeah, great question. It was obviously a whirlwind along this timeline, and a very fast moving one, especially when we're going to set lofty goals, by the time at the turn of the end of the year. And so in essence, kind of the way it all played out has been, the mayor was elected on Monday, and a state of emergency was declared on Tuesday. And what that did is that brought a lot of parties together that said, well, let's expedite this. Let's get all the right people in the right room together, and let's start brainstorming the plan of attack here. And we're lucky to be with a lot of really gifted individuals that all have really good ideas on how to lend a helping hand toward this process. So you're looking at architects, you're looking at service providers, you're looking at trade partners, you're looking at people from the building department, building officials. You're looking at manufacturers for offsite housing production. You're looking at it's really all the right people in this think tank that are pushing this agenda forward. That's gonna, hopefully lead to a solution that people take note of across the nation.
So I lived in Denver for quite some time, and I was kind of telling you this, Mike. I'm really amazed that Cherry Creek School District has this innovation campus for training and for career training, and obviously it covers construction. I just want to kind of reel it back because I want people to know what you have done and more about this school and the transformation of what you're creating, not only with these students, and then how this really kind of led into this next level of being this big piece of news that's happening for the homeless. So, can you kind of tell us a little bit more about this organization and how it started about 5 years ago?
Yeah, Audrey, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. So, all Cherry Creek Schools is a phenomenal district. We'll start there. It's very family centric. It's very student centric. It's a very compassionate district. They've got their heads in the right place. However, for the past few decades, they understand that they've been very college centric in the way that they've been handling education. You've got our top performing high schools that are saying ACT scores, SAT scores, this is how we define success. Where you go to college, this is how we define success. And it was our superintendent a few years back at the time who said his son was getting ready to go from high school into college. And he said, at the end of the day, I don't care where my kid goes to college, but I care about where they end up in their career. I care about, do they find out where their career is, where their heart is, where they experience success as they start to raise their family and so on. And so that's when the mentality entirely shifted towards college-centric education, and now recognizing that college is only one route towards career-centric mindedness. So what that means is you can go to college and end up with a career. You can also go to the military and end up with a career. You could go straight into the trades and end up with an extremely life-fulfilling career. And so that was the birth of this idea of the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus. And so what they did is in 2016, they built this standalone campus in the heart of our 8 local high schools and said, we're going to offer 8 programs. We call them pathways, career pathways that we can offer training for those going into the career workforce. And so what those pathways are is there's a construction pathway, there's an automotive pathway, a manufacturing pathway, a healthcare pathway, aviation, IT, STEM, data sciences, virtual reality, culinary arts and hospitality, heck, you name it, they've got it. And these kids are getting the education of a lifetime at 15, 16, 17, and 18 years old, deciding, is this what I want to do with my life? Where's my next step after this? Now they can make a really well-informed decision because they've already lived it. They've actually worked the jobs already. I've got 80 kids employed in construction jobs this summertime. 80 kids, that's phenomenal. And so what they're doing is they're making an informed decision, now having kind of lived the life. They put their boots on, they've gone to work, and now they can decide, is this what I want to do for a living? Before I go to college, I spend a lot of money, take out student loans. Heck, mom and dad are thankful for this too. And now, not only is there a housing crisis across the country, but there's a workforce crisis. We know all about that as well. There's labor shortages from the East Coast all the way through the West Coast. So this is a multi-tiered approach to solving a lot of these problems. Now, what did we do in our program? When we first started, we were looking for kind of a meaningful project to introduce within our curriculum to our construction students. And we wanted to build something. We didn't know if it was going to be a shed or whatever. And at the same time, there was a community, a nonprofit in Denver, who was starting to build little tiny homes for their homelessness transition community. And I reached out to my buddy there, Cole Chandler, and I said, Cole, I've got an idea. You need houses. I need things to build for these kids. I think your tiny homes would be the perfect build for our class. And so we put our heads together. We got the city involved. We got architects and engineers involved. And now for the past 4 years, we've been building 6 houses a year as part of our curriculum. And it teaches all the fundamentals of construction, not only the building side of things, but also the management, whether it's you're relationship with the client, your, talking to the architects, the engineers, working with an inspector from the building department. It's all the boxes that we wanted to check within our program. And this is really the answer to it.
Mike, and for our audience out there, there's going to be a whole special that comes out on both what Mike does as well as the other teachers in your program, and we'll dive deeper into it. And you talked about the tiers that you guys have set up, and this is a great correlation to what the new mayor is coming into, right? It's the rungs of the ladder, right? So how to get there and how to take care of a roof, a set of walls, a sink, right? A place to call home for 1,000 people. Can you walk into some of those steps that are being proposed? Like, this is the advent of an idea.
Sure. Let's talk about that. So obviously there's not a one size fits all approach to this. This is going to take a lot of the community to be involved. So starting this past Tuesday, the mayor and his coalition started a 78 neighborhood tour across Denver, basically saying, let's explore 198 city owned or publicly owned sites and measure their viability for possible housing solutions. What are those housing solutions? This could be something we refer to as micro communities. That could be high-end tents all the way through tiny homes, whether it's a single unit tiny home or a 5-plex. This is all something that I'm sure we're excited to talk about in the manufacturing side of things, the offsite manufacturing. That's one tier approach, and that's already existing, and it's existing successfully. That's the homes that we've built for already. Those are little micro communities with 30 or so tiny homes apiece. There's one community building in the middle it's got your kitchen, it's got your dining, it's got your laundry, it's got bathrooms. That's your central unit, the community center, surrounded by what we refer to as sleeping units, which are just, they're a roof over your head. They're a place to store your stuff. They've got the hot plates, they've got a washing pad, you name it. That's kind of the approach that's working successfully as we speak. And that's been going on for the last 6 or so years. Another approach to this would be converted hotels. So hotels that have, in essence, gone out of business. The city just acquired one in the last few days, 194 rooms. Half of those already have kitchenettes in them. So Mark, as you mentioned, that's a sheltered space. It's in community. All of your services are provided there. So we're offering, employment services, mental health services. It's got a shower, it's got a bed, it's got storage. Again, that those solutions towards dignified living. So that's kind of the rung of the ladder referred to within the hotel conversion. There's office space conversion if that hasn't been done yet. And then I'm sure I'm missing one, but that's that's the approach as we're looking at it now this is the approach to the housing pipeline. So let's start with something small. Let's start with something basic, and then let's build these people up in a dignified lifestyle until they can transition into more permanent housing themselves.
Wow. A city and a mayor with open-mindedness and being able to collaborate with all these different organizations, and not saying that I have the solution, but saying, give me more information so we can create one. I think it's really phenomenal. Everything that you're saying, Mike, it's so heartfelt. And we all know that homelessness isn't a choice. We don't choose to be on the street. We don't choose to have our lives ripped apart because we have no shelter and we can't live in a dignified area. I used to live in Denver, Colorado, and I remember driving down the street and seeing these tents and actually going and bringing them water and bringing them different clothing and stuff, and seeing a mom there with her 3 children, and just the gratefulness that she felt just by doing those small acts of kindness. And this really is about kindness and generosity and love, and knowing that we can not only affect people's lives, but shelter is our first basic need. And so being an innovator in your neighborhood and going to see this, and you, Mike, taking a general understanding and being a part of this is certainly just such a great way of showing your ability to give and to be of that kindness. And we are seeing this in We're seeing this in California. We're starting to see this state to state. We have to start taking care of our people. So with that, what was your, I know that you are this teacher. I know you're part of this innovative campus. I know that you are the future of how you want people to start looking at, delivering it and being in schools and having all these assets and creating these amazing careers for them. But for you personally, why was this such a great take on?
Good question. So I've always been a teacher. I've been a teacher in worn multiple different hats. A teacher, a coach, a mentor in different ways. If I were to, ask one thing of my students to get anything out of this, it would be, what can I do that's bigger than myself? It's how can I use my skills to give back? And we talk about it in our program. It's cool to take a picture of a bunk of lumber, a stack of studs at the beginning of the year in August and September. And then 8 months later, hand over the keys to someone's new house. Like, holy cow. It's a big deal for us. And what it is it's teaching these kids, hopefully, to be better contributing citizens to society, and ask the question, how can I use my hands, my heart, and my skills to make the community around me better? And if I were to get anything out of that, it would be this.
Mike, it's pretty heartfelt. You're an amazing person. I want to share with people how we met, and so people can also share with their network who you are, right? Because there's people in their lives that share the same roles that you share. And the more we introduce these people, it's incredible. So in the network of construction, I was introduced to a teacher named Matt Bloomquist, right? Who much of our audience knows.
Absolutely.
And in that network, Audree and myself have a great opportunity to meet a lot of people from the Shop Class podcast space. We immediately struck up a conversation. So I called Mike. I used this magic thing called a phone. And I said, you have a minute? And you were briefed as to who I was. And you said, yeah, do you mind if I pop this on video? And I said, sure. So we went on video, and you immediately took me into that world of your campus and walked through. All the students were there, the other teachers were there, and I'm pretty sure it was a 40 to 60-minute conversation. Somehow we had the time. You can all guess there was not any quiet moments in the conversation. Both of us love to talk, but I got an awareness of you at a deeper level. I got an awareness of the program at a deeper level. I was blessed to then come to the school, right, to take part in a whole activity day with the students. But the point of all this is it starts with the awareness. It starts with sharing that example to others. And Mike, we hope to share more of your story. And we hope that it gets replicated, not just by like-minded folks, but really by the students who learn it. And by students, again, there's no age to student. We're always learning. We're always doing what we can. This is the news, right? And this is the kind of news that we feel open to share. So everyone, please reach out. Cherry Creek Innovation Campus. You could find Mike very easily on Instagram. We will have your contact details provided in the article that comes out with this. Reach out to Mike, and also just take this information, forward it to anyone you know. This is a community upon community example. For Audree Grubesic, I'm Mark Wille. This is The Dirt on Offsite Dirt.